Constitution of Pakistan of 1956. Before we go to the Constitution of Pakistan of 1956, which is the first Constitution of Pakistan, let's have a brief introduction of Constitution itself. Constitution is a set of fundamental principles according to which a state or other organizations are governed. It means a constitution is a holy document that gives guidelines and principles to govern, to rule a state. So we can say that a state cannot exist without a constitution. A concept of state is impossible without a constitution. Whenever we are saying that it's a separate state, we mean we are definitely saying that it do have a constitution, because without a constitution a state cannot exist. Since constitution is the name of rules and regulations which are used to govern a state, to explain why the state is came to being, how the state will be ruled, what will be the duties and responsibilities of different components in the state, like what will be the role of a legislature, what will be the role of an executive, and how these pillars of states are interlinked, how they will be responsible for the people, and what will be the responsibilities of people. So all those things are explained in a constitution. Constitution is not important to be a written constitution, because there are a number of states in the world there are 5 states only in the world which do not have a written constitution like we have a written constitution. Remaining our states have a written constitution, like United Kingdom, Israel, and and Canada, that do not have a written constitution. But on the other hand, the other countries like Pakistan, India, USA have a written constitution. So a constitution can be a written one or not a written one, but all states do have a constitution. So as now we have explained the importance of constitution, now let's see the Constitution of Pakistan of 1956. Constitution of Pakistan of 1956 was introduced on 23rd March 1956 after independence, almost 9 years after independence. And then this constitution only remained for not more than 2 years. It was abrogated on 7th October 1958. So this constitution remained in force from 23rd March 1956 till 7th October 1958. It was a written constitution. It comprises of 234 articles, 13 parts, and 5 schedules. The Constituent Assembly had adopted on 29th February 1956 and was enforced on 23rd March 1956. This constitution remained till 7th October 1958, and when it was abrogated by Iskandar Mirza, the then first president of Pakistan. This constitution was actually not practically applied at all, because no election was held under this constitution. So this constitution was only a written document which was not practically applied, but still this is the first constitution of Pakistan. It was enforced on 23rd March 1956. So that's why we are celebrating 23rd March as Republic Day as well. Although the historic importance of 23rd March is more than that as well, because on the same day Pakistan resolution was also passed in 1940. However, another very important event was happened on 23rd March 1956, when the first constitution of Pakistan was enforced, and on that day Pakistan had become a republic and independent from British. Silent features of the constitution. It was a written constitution, as it was comprised of 234 articles. It was a written constitution, and it was a rigid constitution. A constitution is considered to be a rigid rigid constitution when when it's not as much easy to make amendments in it. In 1956 constitution, to make amendment, it was required by a two-third majority of parliament. An authentication by president was also required for amendment. So it was a rigid constitution. It was not a easy task to make amendments in constitution. To make amendments, at first the amendments had to be approved by parliament with two-third majority, and then it had to be endorsed by president. Otherwise amendment could not be passed. So it was a rigid constitution. In Constitution of 1956, this name of state was given as Islamic Republic of Pakistan. So this constitution gave a definite name to the state, which was Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Objective resolution was inserted in Constitution of 1956 as a preamble. This objective resolution remained as a part of preamble in 1962 constitution as well, in 1973 constitution as well. However, after 8th amendment in 1985, objective resolution was made a permanent part of constitution in 1973. However, in 1956 constitution, it was a part of preamble as only. The Constitution of 1956 was a federal constitution, and it introduced a federal system. It made clear distinction between the federal subject and provincial subjects. It was a clear list of federal, provincial, and concurrent lists were clearly mentioned. So it was a federal constitution, and a federal system was introduced according to the Constitution of 1956. And Constitution of 1956 provides a unicameral legislature. It means there was only one house in parliament, which was called National Assembly. National Assembly was comprised of 300 members, 150 from each wing. It means East wing, from East Pakistan 150, and from West Pakistan 150. Total there were 300 members of National Assembly. Constitution of 1956 provides parliamentary system. It means there was an office of president as well as prime minister. The president was a very powerful president. He could declare a state of emergency, appoint governors, the judges of Supreme Court, Editor General, and Advocate General. However, he was the head of the state, and he has to follow the instructions of Prime Minister or the suggestions of Prime Minister. And Prime Minister was the head of parliamentary group, and he could select members of cabinet from National Assembly. There was a considerable provincial autonomy was given. Islamic laws were enforced through 1956 constitution, like to become a prime minister of Pakistan, he must be a Muslim. To become the president of Pakistan, Muslim was compulsory. Only Muslims could be president of Pakistan. However, it was not mandatory for prime minister of Pakistan. Free judiciary was also made sure through Constitution of 1956, and fundamental rights were mentioned in 1956. It includes like freedom of speech, freedom of gathering, freedom to profess religion. So such type of fundamental rights were given in 1956 Constitution. According to 1956 Constitution, there were two national languages, Urdu and Bengali. This constitution could not remain enforced for more than 2 years. It was a good constitution. Still, it had number of drawbacks, like Bengalis were underrepresented. In eastern wind in Bengal now, which became a Bangladesh after 1971. Bengal had 54% of population. However, they were given 50% representation. So their representation was underrepresented. Their representation was curtailed down. So it was a big drawback in this constitution. Another drawback was one unit scheme. Through one unit scheme, all the 4 provinces of West Pakistan, that were Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Sindh, Balochistan and Punjab, were grouped together to a single unit, and that West Pakistan was made a one province. This scheme was called one unit scheme. This scheme had number of drawbacks, because the very first drawback was that so many politicians who were doing their regional politics or provincial politics could not get a chance to take active part in politics. They were against this scheme, so they create so many troubles. And the last drawback was it was the first step to institutionalizing army into politics by authorizing president to promulgate emergency. Because of the mentioned drawbacks that we just talked now, this constitution could not remain for more than 2 years. Iskandar Mirza, who had become the first president of Pakistan, had abrogated the constitution on 7th October 1958 and imposed martial law. He had appointed General Ayub Khan as Chief Martial Law Administrator and Aziz Ahmad as Secretary General and Deputy Chief Martial Law Administrator. General Ayub Khan was thinking to remove Iskandar Mirza and to become the president himself. So he did this. He accomplished his wish within 20 days. On 27th October 1958, General Ayub Khan deposed Iskandar Mirza and assumed the office of president. So on 7th October 1958, the constitution was abrogated and martial law was imposed. So the story of 1956 constitution came to an end without any election was held under this constitution.